And we are recording.
Okay.
How are you?
Fine. Fine.
All right. So for the people that doesn't know, we want to start with like a casual introduction.
hmm
So you can introduce yourself to us.
Well, my name's Marie Beemans.
Yes.
I was born halfway between Montreal and James Bay
Yeah.
in Northern Ontario. And I immigrated to Montreal in 52. And I live now in Two Mountains where we are. I've been here 60 years. And when I got this house,
Yeah.
I said the door would never be locked, and it's never been locked, the front door. And so many sorts of people have lived here. I don't think we've really gone a week. There wasn't somebody new that stayed here. So I had a lot of people.
Yeah. And you're the original person to live in here, like in this.
Yep. Well, no, we bought the house.
Okay.
It was built in 34.
Yeah.
Just one floor. And after the war, they added the second floor.
Okay.
But I needed the whole house because I had a bunch of kids.
Yes. And I know from like your stories that you tell me that you helped a lot of people to like get back on the road and like keep on going. And I want to know like what made you start doing that? Like, is it always you've been like that, or like
Well,
what
first,
triggered you? Yeah.
okay, the first one was during the Vietnamese War,
Mm-hmm.
and instead they sent me somebody from the French nuclear fleet.
Okay.
And I was really surprised, but at the same time, he refused to go to Algeria, so he jumped ship in California
Okay.
and was able to come up here. So we hid him for about a year. It was good. He was a nice guy. He helped my kids with their homework. And because I hadn't gone to school in French.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think the week he left, I had a refugee from Ecuador, Guayaquil. And
So, like, did it happen by coincidence that you would like bring
well, I put in my name
on the journey
that for somebody who refused to do the war in
that you would allow them to?
they were in the country illegally.
Okay.
Somebody refused to do the war in Vietnam.
Yes.
And then I saw somebody that same week. I saw somebody, a friend of mine, he was trying to help people who had been caught in scams.
Okay.
They were fleeing a lot of difficulties in their country.
Yeah.
And so came up here. So I said, well, he said, it's sad how they're being held and sent back. And I said, well, I can take one in. And then after there's the war in Chile.
Okay.
So I figured
So
we can always, when you've got a large family, you can always make room for one more.
well, yeah, depends on the economy as well, like because
I don't think it does because you just divide. You divide. I did it on my own.
Mhm.
If you make a big pot of soup,
Yes.
one bowl or more or two or whatever. And then I was doing volunteer work at the women's penitentiary in Kingston.
Okay.
And women would come out of the pen and
So you would say
couple
like,
came here. And once I was at a meetings one evening and a woman arrived and my daughter just said, well, I'll go sleep with my sister and take my bed.
all right. So okay, so you already had your daughters when you started doing like volunteer work.
I had my children.
Okay. So
And so they grew up used to that.
okay.
Then there was in, what is it, 71? Not,
1971. Okay.
not yeah, in, in 71.
Yeah.
that somebody asked me to mind 2 children for the day
Mhm.
and never came back. So I asked all my kids, and they all said, "Oh, we keep them, we keep them." So I said, "Okay."
So
But
you
they
kept the
had to
kids.
be members of the family,
Yes.
complete members of family, which I never heard them say, "You're not my brother or my sister."
It's all were included in the same house.
Yeah, they were all, so they came, they got their room, and others, moved up. As they got older, they moved up because the older ones would move out.
Yeah.
And besides, all their friends were here. The house was always full. And then I started taking, and I was working in a project for ex-prisoners here. And there'd be a guy that would be saying, I can't pay my deal. I can't do this. I'm really.
We're gonna get to all the stuff related to the prisoner because I want to know like the background first. So you started like what was your education? Like
What was my education?
yes.
Well, for one thing, I grew up in Northern Ontario, like I say.
Yes. So English. What was it English? Right?
Yeah, I spoke English.
Yeah.
My mother was French Canadian,
Okay.
but if they thought anywhere that was any French anywhere in your family, you got pea soup, but Johnny cake gives the Frenchman bellyache. There was
So you got bullied if you got French cake.
there was discrimination.
Okay.
And then let's see, I went to when I was 17. I did 1 year
Yeah.
in Ottawa for supposed to be the first year BA.
Yeah.
And actually, it was a private college, which I think was a stop mill. So I spent more time in Parliament.
Yeah.
And because, well, the first time, I guess it was I was staying with friends from the family.
Mhm.
I blew my allowance,
Okay.
so I went to the Parliament building.
Okay.
I saw our MP, and I said, "Oh, nice." My mother said to. I said, my parents said to come and say hello to you because my parents were diehard Liberals.
Yeah.
And so he took me to eat in the parliamentary dining room. So, and I got a pass to the ladies' gallery. So I spent more time in the ladies' gallery and in the parliament buildings, I think, than I spent in class. It was fascinating. I was always fascinated by the exercise of power.
Okay.
And then I found a flyer to go and visit at the women's prison in Ottawa, which was in the old Nicholas Street jail.
Okay.
And that was my first experience going into prisons. Actually, I should have been 21, but I was tall. I was 17. They thought I was 21.
So you were already like getting involved in the parliament, all of that, pretty young.
Yeah, I was. The exercise of power has always, I think since I was in grade school,
Okay.
I know I came into grade 1 or 2.
Mhm.
I can remember. How come we are 30 pupils and she's all alone in front of the class
The teacher.
and everybody's afraid of her?
Okay.
Everybody's afraid how one person could dominate. In my idea, sitting in class was being dominated.
Yes.
That
So they would.
how the exercise of power
Yeah.
has fascinated me since I'm a child.
So like growing up, even like that, what triggered you would say like the teacher would express their power through, or like express their authority through fear to gain power.
Well, it was like fear.
You wouldn't say
Everybody sat in place,
Okay.
which I didn't much. So I got scolded a lot. But I guess I was a rebel. And
And did the teacher have like sticks that they would like smack you with it if you're not behaving?
well, in grade 3, there was one
Yeah.
who used to give the strap. But the thing is, you put your hand out like that. When she comes down, you run like that. And she hits her. I
We still used to do
somebody
that,
who
man.
questioned power.
Yeah.
I was somebody who questioned power and social justice. I think it came. My father used to talk to me a lot about social justice,
Yes.
and he had done his thesis. Oh my God, in around 1906,
Yeah.
and he had done his thesis, a critique of colonialism,
Critique of colonialism.
and he would talk to me even as a child. I used to follow my father around all the time. And my father would talk to me as if I was that high. And he would talk to me as if I was a university student.
Okay, so he would put you like as an equivalent mind.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And then in 52, we emigrated to Montreal. And then I got involved with extreme left wing a bit,
Okay.
but that was just one day a week. And I worked in a project for street people on Saturdays. And, I did different things during the week. And then my parents said I had to have a job or study. So I worked at Bell Telephone.
Okay.
And I lost my job because I was going to, one night a week, I was going to a little communist cell. And they found out. And so I was not somebody who fit in. I didn't want to be cornered into you're this or you're that.
Okay.
I wanted to see all the sides.
Okay.
And I guess I'm left, but I never wanted.
You never wanted a job anymore.
I didn't want to go to Moscow.
Yeah.
That would have been too much.
Yeah.
But then I ended up getting married and having kids.
Okay.
Like,
was it a love story, or was it like a love story, or organized marriage?
Oh, no, organized marriage. No, it was a buddy, that I've been around for 2 years. So in those days,
It was
family, you got to hitch the knot.
Yeah.
And so went through the big marriage and I got married, and I married a playboy.
Okay. Of course.
So, and I realized immediately.
Okay.
But anyway, I wanted lots of children. We were only 2 at home. And, I'd come to school, and that was the depression, the end of the depression.
Yeah.
And I'd come to school, and I'd hear kids tell about all the things that happened on the weekend, at the farm. They were, a barn dance and all that. And it was very serious. So on the weekend, my father listened to the opera, and my mother read. There was a very loving home. I never heard of my parents fight. So I was discovering how the world. Oh yes, and when I was supposed to be studying in Ottawa, I found this flyer to go into the Nicholas Street Jail.
Okay.
So I started going there for that year, and at the end of the year, wasn't quite the end of the year, I realized I wasn't going to pass at college.
Because you're missing.
I'm missing a lot.
Yeah.
So I came home, and I got in a big car accident. We've got how long to do?
15 minutes. We can talk as much as you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I'm
Yes.
here. I don't have any place to go, so
I didn't get any farther.
yeah.
Okay.
I want you to tell the whole story.
Okay, so we want the
Yes.
whole story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so you were getting kicked out of school because you're not attending it.
Yeah, but then I was married and I started having kids.
Yes.
So
And how old were you when you started to have a family?
I got married. I was 21.
Okay.
And because if you weren't, in those days, if you weren't married past 21, 23, you would be an old maid.
Oh yeah, we
So
don't have the same.
I got married at 21. Anyway, I wanted kids.
Yeah.
I really wanted kids. And I had 9 of them. And I found out almost right away I was raising my kids alone.
Okay.
And
did you
how
have
did I get involved? I got involved.
Okay.
How did I? I had the kids, but then I started. There were old friends I had who were artists, a lot of art that were artists and that. And my ex-husband was in that milieu.
Okay.
And but I was pretty well at home. But I would always started when I came to this house. We're in a very small house. Well, actually, when I got married, we were in the family estate, which was a manor, a very big place.
Yeah.
And all I could say was like living in an Agatha Christie. And then finally, I got this house to myself with my kids. And almost immediately, we took in the I gave my name to take a conscientious objector.
Okay.
And they told me at the time of the Vietnam War, and they told me they had somebody that didn't speak English, an American. They said it was somebody from the French nuclear fleet that had seen the French nuclear experiments in the Pacific with only just something, a little mask in front of their eyes on the Charles de Gaulle. And then he jumped ship in California, and by the Underground Railroad at the time, he came up to Montreal. So I hid him until he got caught. That was a good year, over a year.
Okay.
And the next week, I took in a refugee. And from then on, and then when my kids were all in school, like the youngest was in grade school.
Yeah.
After the in 71, that was it. Somebody asked me to mind a man asked me to mind his 2 kids for the day. He didn't come back. And, it's so what? It seems almost unbelievable. He didn't come back.
Yeah.
And my boys said they saw him near a boat landing not far from my house because I live next to a river.
Okay.
And I said, well, tell him to let me know what's happening. And they said every time he took off. And then they found $200,000 in stolen negotiable bonds and stuff anyway, it was part of a loot from one of the biggest bank robberies in Montreal.
Oh, fuck.
And so what I realized is the guy was on the lam.
Okay.
So I didn't denounce him. So then I went to court and got the permission to keep the kids.
Okay.
And they're part of the family. And especially little fella. He's but then I was studying special because I had a handicapped son. I was studying at night. I finished just before those 2 came. And I was studying at night special ed.
Okay.
So which helped me dealing, because I knew when I accepted them that there would be an identity crisis in the teens I'd have to live through, that there would be things, and to prepare. And I was willing. And everybody, every one of the kids said they were willing to accept the challenge.
Yeah.
And it was great. I always wanted twins, so there I had two the same age. They were the same age, my two youngest.
That's nice.
Then I was going to, at the time, oh yes, I had started doing volunteer work, going once a month to the only women's penitentiary in Canada, in Kingston. So I would go for the day, once a month, for the Quebec prisoners. And then I was asked for a grassroots project for children having problem and in difficulty. And so Alice Parizeau asked me to if I would take over that.
Yeah.
And, like grassroots projects, you use its networking, you find it was very grassroots, but it was the embryo of what became the Children's Protection for Quebec.
Okay.
And because with Alice Parizeau on the board, I had also Jacques Tellier, who became the first protecteur de jeunesse in Quebec.
Okay.
And then I was asked for the Church Council for Justice and Corrections. And we used to go and we did the campaign again. I did the campaign for against the return of the death penalty for Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going into the penitentiaries to see the lifers and as a volunteer. And then at a certain time, as my kids got older, there was more room in the house. I started taking in ex-prisoners. As they came out, I could see that they would come out, they would be lost.
Yeah.
When somebody is lost and panics, he becomes a bit more high risk. And so it is to treat everybody, all the prisoners I came in contact with, I always treated them as if they were a nephew or a cousin that's called me up after many years and said, look, I'm coming out. I don't know where to go. And so I was working at Teleresos, a project for ex-prisoners coming out. So I would take some home. And then finally, I took some for corrections. Yeah. They asked me if I could take guys that were institutionalized, older prisoners. And so I had, for years, 20 years, in my home, I was like a foster home for guys that came out until they could get back on their feet and never had any problems. Actually, while my son was renovating the house, I was 6 years in Montreal, facing a park in Côte-des-Neiges. Mm. And I had rented a lower duplex because one of my daughters was at university and she just separated and she had her baby. So I said I would leave there.
Yeah.
And while the house was being renovated. And so I had guys staying with me there. And then I came back here and I continued. But I was 6 years in Montreal. And I was also, while I was there, I did volunteer work at a project called STAR for ex-prisoners.
Okay.
And
that's after you finished school, or this is like you?
Oh yeah, I was finished.
Really finished.
I went to Concordia. I got my degree in sociology.
Okay.
And then I started my master's in criminology at the University of Montreal.
Okay.
But at a certain time, I had to make a choice. I was getting calls at night from prisoners that were women prisoners and ex-women prisoners.
Yeah.
And the resources weren't all there for them at the time. And they would call me up. And I thought, I either listen to them or I work on my papers.
Yeah.
And which was more important in my life, a paper or that person's need of somebody to listen to them
Yeah.
that evening. And so, and they would pass me on to somebody else. And so there were many, many that I helped.
Yeah.
I went into the penitentiaries. I went in for church council and justice and corrections because they had a double role. One was working for a more just society with an ideal that was punishment is not the solution. That's just disguised vengeance. The answer we need is to look for solutions. Solutions in society, which is prevention.
Yeah.
And solutions while the guys are inside so they don't come out worse, and that human rights are respected, and also that when they come out, they are citizens, and so they are accepted back in society.
Yeah.
The first thing that struck me when I went into a pen was they kept referring to me as the prisoners as a citizen. And I said, but you too are citizens. So if you are not a citizen, you are not bound by the bonds that keep the social bonds that hold our society together. And so you are a citizen. And if you weren't a citizen, you'd be deported. So that really struck me and stayed with me. And more, I got involved with prisoners' rights. I worked for years at the ODD, which is the Office des Droits des Détenus, the prisoners' rights organization. And my feeling about prisoners, I compare it. If I have a garment that is torn, that is something's wrong with it, if I can either mend it or I can put it in my closet. I take it out of my closet 10 years later, it's probably going to be so moth-eaten that I won't be able to mend it. And that's the same thing with prisoners. We take somebody who has broken the rules of society and we put them in a box. We take away, they have acted irresponsibly, and we put them in a box where we take away all responsibilities. What time they get up, what time they eat, what time they go to bed, the lights off. And then we throw them out on society 10 years later.
They get shocked.
Well, they're lost.
Yeah.
They're lost. And they have non-association. Volunteers that go into the pens are not supposed to see the guys when they come out, though I always did. And I think I was tolerated. And so the only friends these guys have when they come out, they can't see the guys, they're friends that they've had for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And they can't go back to the milieu where they come from, because that's what brought them in, and besides they're forbidden to. So they're lost. They panic. And that's why it's important to have volunteers that know the guy, that meet him at the door of the pen, that go with him, there's a lot to be done the first day. When you've been 10 years and you don't do, nothing happens. And then the first day, you've got to go report, you've got to go to welfare, and all that.
Yeah.
And everything is happening so fast outside. So this is what we need. And we need volunteers that will help. These are people are part of our society. And our society has become more and more divisive. We separate people by their age. We separate them. You don't put young people with old people. You don't put, you divide among a lot
But
of
does it matter
language,
what type of?
all sorts of divisions.
Does it matter what
We
type
have
of
a
crime
neighbor
they
next
did?
door, south of us, who is sort of encouraging these divisions.
Okay, but does it matter like what type of crime they did? They're
Yes.
all
I always took somebody who had been in a long time.
okay.
So that was more serious.
So like a murder or like
Yeah.
okay.
But there's a lot less chance. My guys didn't reoffend.
Yeah.
Guys that stayed by my house did not, that passed by my house, did not reoffend.
Okay.
And whereas the highest risk is the somebody that was living on the street,
Yeah.
stealed your purse
Yeah.
to pay his pusher. Small crime is what hurts you a lot more than major crime.
Okay.
Somebody that kills his business partner, or that does a bank robbery,
Exactly.
does not affect me as much as when I was going to studying, somebody who would take my backpack, steal my backpack with all my work it done. That would hurt.
Yeah.
Or that steals a wallet with all your pictures.
IDs,
My oldest son is dead. I mean, died of cancer. So his picture would be in it. And that, if somebody stole that wallet, that would hurt.
Yes.
I'll be frank, a bank robbery at the corner, there aren't anymore. There aren't anymore. There are no more. It's just somebody whose house has been seized,
Yeah.
that panics, an ordinary citizen who's, going bankrupt and is discouraged. And he thinks, well, I'll go in a bank. He doesn't know that all the money that they've got is a package with red ink that comes out and there's no way to erase it.
Yep. And it's fake money that is inside the bank.
Yeah,
It's not real value.
it's not fake money. They've got a pack of real money,
Yeah.
but it's marked with an ink
Yeah.
that you don't see, but it comes out after it's exposed to air, and you can't erase it.
Yeah. So some cops
Yeah.
you can see it.
So there is more there's more robbery, more bank robberies than there ever have been, but it's all done from in the inside through computers. Now
Everything is through the cyberware.
Yeah, you used to have to go to university to get a good job.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got to go to university to be a good criminal. And
To be honest, yes, sorry, because a lot of them get employed very fast.
And then the other thing that, so I had guys staying with me. My kids would bring somebody. I remember my daughter bringing somebody in her class home, and she said, she can't go. She doesn't want to go home to sleep because she said her mother's boyfriend is after her. So she stayed with us for a year, and now she's a school teacher and she's a good friend of my daughter. And this is, 50, 40, well, just a second, it's 50. That would be 35 years later.
Wow.
And so we are our brother's keeper. We are few people living on this planet, which of everything you look up in the sky and the stars, there's all these, if they find a bit of water, a drop of water on a planet billions of trillions of miles away, everybody's excited. And yet you've got this little ball with rivers, with trees, flowers, livable climate and everything. Well, so people might say not. Yesterday in the great heat, with climate.
They want to go to Mars.
Climate. It's, but we're destroying it actually. And we have this little ball in the universe. And our survival depends on everybody being there for his neighbor.
Of course, yeah.
And my father used to talk, my father came from Antwerp, and he would tell me about people fleeing the Russian Revolution and that, or what came before, the wars. And they would come to the port city of Antwerp and fleeing. And to go to the States, they would have to pass a physical exam. And one of the kids might have tuberculosis. So the family has to choose, do we live on the streets of Antwerp in 1900? Or do we abandon our child and the rest of the kids, go with the rest of the kids for a better life, they hoped. And he told me, my father arrived in the States. He told me how sad it was to see these people on Ellis Island. And those stories as a child really influenced me.
Yeah.
So I was working, doing volunteer work. Now, my kids were all in school, university, and having kids themselves, and they've got good jobs. And
But was the church has any influence related to that? Or?
I think I'm very close to theology of liberation.
Can you explain what is that?
I am a believer.
Okay.
And I have always, my Sundays, if the good Lord, it took him 7 days to build, for the earth, like we say, and the myth of the creation. Yeah. But this planet was done over periods of years. They'd say 7 millenniums or what. But Sunday, I always said, with me and the kids, we needed a special day. Mm. And so I always went to church with them. And that's part of my personal beliefs. And I think it's very personal. And yet it is behind. I don't believe I could go to church and not do what I do. I think
you would be a hypocrite if you didn't.
I'd be a hypocrite.
Okay.
I'd be a hypocrite when we're told to love our neighbor, to turn the other cheek, to, even Christ, he was a rebel in his days.
Yeah.
And I believe he and his family were refugees. I think that Herod was like Nathaniel, and he was going to kill all the baby boys, and they had to flee. And I think of all the families, especially at Christmas time, that are fleeing. And then how can we sit here? We've never had a bomb falling on our head. We've never had to flee. If my kids weren't there for supper, I never expected the boys to come on time.
Yeah.
And, they okay. I didn't worry. I didn't have to worry. Have they been picked up by the police? But in so many countries, secret police, the house was searched during the October crisis. And I sat down after and I thought, now, if this had been in Chile
Camera
or in Germany.
Yeah. Keep talking. I'm just gonna check the camera over there. And come back.
Okay. If this had been in Germany, the kids were jumping when they searched the house. The preschoolers were jumping all over the soldiers. They were so bloody glad to get out of the house. And I was laughing when they left.
Yeah.
And I thought, if this had been Nazi Germany, I wouldn't be laughing. And so many countries, that is a reality.
Well, even now.
And many countries,
Yeah.
I don't believe we've got a right to kill anybody. I don't believe in guns. And every time I heard a pow pow, I took whatever it was, even it was another kid's, birthday present or whatever, and my kids' friends all knew, never come near here with a toy gun. And they all went in the river.
Yeah.
And I'm against violence. And that's why do I have a special gift that I feel comfortable working with ex-prisoners. Some people feel more comfortable working, like I remember what my
Do you
daughter
feel
was in
safe when you work with them, or like when you have them over? Or like,
well,
do you
yeah,
feel like
in the sense, work, when you work for a job, corrections, after for 20 years, corrections paid the guy's room and board. That was it. But whoever pays the piper calls the tune.
okay.
When I went to university, my kids thought I was going to get a nice salary from corrections. And anyway, I was out for many years active in the international prison abolition movement, which is looking for alternatives to the punishment model. So there's a lot that has been done. Actually, Ruth Morris, one of the authors on prison abolition, she emptied the prisons in Costa Rica. She got all sorts of projects. She showed that it could be done. And I went down and I saw how it was happening. And you look for solutions instead of the punishment model. And yes, some have got deep mental health problems that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
But we've also looked at the society which we are creating, which you've got to have more and more and more. And not everybody has the means. So you have youth who are told they're not a man unless they have the latest, fancy car.
Okay.
And yet they
But don't you
don't
think
have the
like
means
the prison?
to get it.
Yeah.
So you're creating needs without the means.
Okay.
And this is a lot of the crime is based on that. But our society, it means looking at our society, at a society that's based on sharing rather than individualism, on looking for solutions instead of vengeance, because punishment is vengeance. It's just the victim that has ceded to the state the vengeance.
Yeah.
And we have to work towards a society. Now, as one person, I'm not going to change a society all by myself. If I do make a dent, that's the best probably I can hope for.
Yeah.
But I remember somebody telling me that down by the seaside there was this little kid, and he was there were all these little baby turtles.
Okay.
And he was they were coming on the seashore and they were being washed into the sea. And he was putting them on land. And somebody came by and said, yes, but there's so many of them, you'll never save them all. But he said, that one that on land, I did. If everybody made just one effort, how many empty bedrooms are there in Montreal? Families, there's adult kids have gone. And there are people drowning in the Mediterranean every week because they're fleeing.
Yeah.
They're fleeing systems that are violent, but a lot of that violence has been created by colonialism, by some of it by our Canadian companies that are mining down there and collaborating with dictators like in Eritrea. So we can sit on this planet and say, I'll take what I can get.
We can work together.
No, I'll get through it.
Yeah.
But I think my family is a lot richer, not in money, but in experience.
Yeah.
Because we've had ex-prisoners, we've had lifers, we have had people from Bangladesh, families from Bangladesh, from Chile, from Ecuador, from Muslim, I've had Buddhist, I've had Hindi, I have had them from an island in the Caribbean.
Wow.
I've had them from all over. I've had jurists come and stay with me. One famous native elder, Art Solomon, he's dead now. Art stays with me one weekend, almost a week. And it's been so enriching. And you just do it. And I remember once a woman from Chile was at the dining room table, and my kids came home from school at noon, and Linda saw that Blanca was crying.
Yeah.
And she said, why is she crying? And I said, it's because she doesn't have her papers. She said, papers? I says, well, the papers to be able to stay in Canada. And she said, it takes papers to stay in Canada? Mm-hmm. Because she was 7 years old at the time. And she says, I says, yes, because there's borders. But she said, God made the world for everybody. He didn't put borders.
Yeah.
And out of that kid at 7 years old, came out a lot of wisdom. And so we share, and it's been a wonderful life.
Yeah. Well, what can you say to the people now for right now, you started your life doing it because of the Vietnam War and because of the war that's going on, but what about now? What can we do now?
Well,
in order to continue what you've been doing.
Well, I can't do much more. I'm 92. I was Sunday, with the transport adapté, because I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I was able to go for the last 50 years, we do a service every 10th of August in memory of all those who have died in the prison system around the world. Some are tortured, some are,
You're also involved with like other prisons, not just in Canada, but like also outside, like for with prisoners outside of Canada, correct? Or just inside?
At the time, at ODD,
Yeah.
we got requests from Canadians who were in prison in the States, helping them to come up. And remember going to the Supreme Court for a young man named Kindler who was facing the death penalty
Yes.
in Philadelphia. And this was something that happened when he was 16. And
For what crime?
it was, trying to remember because it's way back. And it was a homicide.
Okay.
But he wasn't alone. He was with a group of friends.
Okay.
And his friends were very wealthy, and they got off the hook. And his father was just a TV repairman, but his friends needed him because they were still stealing TVs.
Okay.
And he could repair them, fix them. And so there's outside the country, there's Amnesty International that does that.
Okay.
I support Amnesty International,
Yeah.
but I'm not. I can't be active in it, so I'm working here.
Yes.
But when in '82, July 25th in '82, there was a riot at the penitentiary in Saint-Anne-des-Plaines.
Okay.
At Archambault, there was torture.
Okay.
A lot of torture. There we fought. I remember at that time, I didn't get much sleep for about 2 months. And I didn't get any for the first week, I think. And we brought in Amnesty International, never intervenes in a country where it has to be a team from another country. So we brought in Amnesty International.
Okay.
We couldn't use people based in Canada. We got
because
the ones that investigated the riot at Attica,
yeah.
and the United Church of Canada got involved about the torture. So there were many reports that was bringing in from outside.
So like prisons like in Iraq or like in Egypt, there would be a lot of, even like in Syria.
That would be through. It's only Amnesty that can go there.
Okay. All right. So back to the point about like what we can do for like modern time for like now. So we currently, with the stuff going on with Gaza and Israel, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be in mess after the war or after this war ends. So what can you think like for the people now can do in order to help either the people in Ukraine or in every war?
It's from the outside.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, but you have to be there. I was in Israel many years ago with my daughter because she lives in Switzerland and she's in high tech, and she had one of her agents of her company there.
Yeah.
And so we went there, and it seemed quite peaceful. We went back and forth. We went back and forth into Palestine.
Mm-hmm. Into like Jerusalem or?
Well, we were at Jerusalem.
West side, West Bank, I mean, like in the West Bank or?
Jeepers.
I
went to Bethlehem.
Yeah.
And then when we went up by the water, the sea there, that you can't float, the Dead Sea.
Yes.
Or the Galilee.
Yeah.
And it just seemed peaceful. I mean, I could see we were at an hotel that was a Palestinian
Back
hotel.
then, like
It was right next to the one of the doors going into the old city in Jerusalem.
Okay.
But it was a Palestinian hotel.
But like I mean, like the checkpoints and
The
all of that
checkpoints.
wasn't yet
When we
made.
took a taxi to go to Bethlehem, we had to go through checkpoints
Yeah.
at different times. But, you know, there were Palestinians in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
and we were in that hotel actually was in a Palestinian quarter.
Yeah.
But people, it just seemed
Working.
very, very peaceful.
So what do you think about now?
Now, I think it's a massacre that's been done.
Yeah.
I don't think we can hold a people as such. We have to look at who is behind it. I think Netanyahu is a war criminal, definitely. And I know there are many people in Israel that are against what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the ones that are doing this. It is unbelievable. But
what do you think is their motive? Is just to expand or to fulfill a prophecy?
Throughout history, there have been scourges like that. What happened in Germany, but also time of the Crusades all over. There have been massacres in India, and a lot of it is due to colonialism and the expansion. I think we all carry a bit of Cain and Abel in us.
Yeah.
And there's the myth of Cain and Abel, because that wasn't their name, the first people. But Cain, I think that myth shows that everybody, when I came to Montreal from Northern Ontario, I walked on the street and I had just finished reading a book that a Yugoslav that had been in concentration camps. And he was an Orthodox. Anyway, he described what was happening in the concentration camps. And I walked on the streets and I looked at people because I came, small town, and the first time living in a big city. And I would walk on St. Catherine Street. I said, the ones that did this are the same species as me and everybody else walking on the street. Not one of us is
different or angel or
a robot or what. And that means everyone, and it was kind of an awakening at 19, everyone, because we were describing, we were learning, we were seeing people that had fled Europe. And every one of us is capable of doing something like that.
Oh, of course.
What makes us not saying no? I think it was the family I grew up in. What makes people that all my life, ever since grade 1, and I looked at the teacher, what makes people lord it over others, control others? What is the dynamic of power.
Hmm.
And Foucault has written a lot on that. And sometimes people are dominated. You know, sexuality can be used to dominate. Greed, envy, and just the hatred of somebody who is different. And, we look at what's happening in the States, and if we were going to have a homogeneous society, it would be like a garden where fields where every flower is the same color. How much more beautiful when you've got all different kinds of flowers and with different colors. Some are taller, some are shorter.
Yeah.
That's that. Well, it would be the same thing with people. It's like, people, we try to get rid of weeds, talking about flowers.
Yeah.
But weeds, every weed has medicinal characteristics. And by throwing them out, they also have a power of survival. They will grow where nothing else grows. Yet we throw them and we deprive ourselves of all the virtues that each one of these plants can have.
Yeah.
And, the natives know about that because each one of these weeds, they know what medicinal characters it has.
Yes.
Some will stop bleeding. Some will disinfect. People are like when we reject people because they are different.
Do you think the way that this structure, or like the society is now is structured, is built upon like dividing people from each other and make us more separated?
There is a tendency, not as bad as the States. There is a tendency to reject the ones that are different. When they say immigrants, but we are all immigrants since the very beginning. There have been movements of population. Everybody, they were natives here.
Yeah.
I remember going to court with somebody who was going to be deported. It was a court at Dorval. And I came in and he asked, her whole family had sold everything practically, or mortgaged everything. So she was going to come up to the land of milk and honey, and send money back home. Mm. And so when the judge asked her why she came to Canada, and she said to see the plantations, rubber plantations. And he looked at me and I looked at her. And then I said, because I saw on his name on his desk, it was Obamsawan, which is a native name.
Okay.
So I said, I'm only asking you one thing. To be as hospitable with her as your ancestors were with mine. Hmm. So he let her stay. And because we are all, there have been movements of populations throughout because of famine, because of wars, conquering. It's just look at Europe, and to Asia too.
Yeah.
And then they crossed the Bering Strait straight when it wasn't separated. And the natives came here. So even many of the natives are where we all started. Well, some say it's in Mesopotamia.
Yeah. Yeah. Like in the Middle East area or that area, that's where everything is going on. And all the religion come from, like
Yeah.
seems to be a great stuff. Well, we're almost at the end. Do you want to say one last thing before we go?
Uh, yeah, just live. We can live sharing without violence, without arms. We threw all the guns, all the arms in the ocean.
Yeah.
That would be contaminating the ocean, but just get rid of it at all.
Send it to space.
If there's no arms, well, nobody's. And then treat everybody as if they were, your cousin. Maybe that's not a good if you don't get along with your cousin.
But don't you think if there is no any conflicts in the world is not gonna progress? Like, has to be a conflict somehow, somewhere for people to move. Otherwise, people are just gonna be.
There doesn't have to be. There were. I'll give you an example.
Yes.
It used to be that spare the rod, and I'm talking just over a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
Tom Brown's school days and that. I'm talking over 150 years, which is very short history of humanity. It used to be spare the rod and spoil the child. It used to be normative to beat the kid that didn't do the right thing, put it in. That was normative. Now we found that all you teach the kid is violence, and it's not normative. We have laws against beating the kids.
Okay.
And you try to reason with them and, ask him why he did that and show him how it isn't right. Now, that's in 200 years. We've come that way.
Mm-hmm.
Some things can change, but we've got to want to.
To want to change.
And someday, will people just find out? Will men come to reason? Because wars are usually men. That the only winners in a war are the arms manufacturers.
Yeah.
I would like everybody, every time a person is killed by a weapon, the manufacturer of that weapon should be held responsible. Just like at one time, women were willingly putting these things in their breast implants to have bigger boobs. And after a few years, they found out they were causing cancer.
Okay.
And there was a lawsuit against the company manufacturing it. Well, in the same way, the person that manufactures an arm, whether it be a drone that is going into a town or whatever, that he should be held responsible for their survival.
Mm-hmm.
And there was company, was it DuPont? Company in India making, what were they making in India? Anyway, there was a big explosion and the whole town was killed practically and poisoned. And the company had damages to pay and it bankrupted the company. Okay. So that was 30, 40 years ago.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.
The hold responsible and look for solutions. That should be, we'll never have a perfect society, but that doesn't mean we can't work for a better society.
That is true. That is true.
And we're all, like my father used to say, we're all responsible for what happens in our generation. We share the responsibility. I'm not responsible for all the wars and that, but
You're
I buy,
responsible. Yeah, you buy.
yeah,
For the stuff you buy, for the stuff you say, for the stuff.
yeah, the time I take, I'm responsible for what's happening to this planet.
Yeah.
And well, my little share is I have aeolian energy and I have solar energy. So to dry my clothes.
Yes.
And it doesn't cost me a penny. It's called a clothesline.
Yes. We have that right there.
Yeah. And, but that's that's a drop in the bucket. But if you don't have any drops, you'll never have a bucket. Oh.
Yeah.
So we've got to get all these little drops that we all can do to save our planet, to save the people on the planet. At the moment, we're facing a problem of declining population, which is going to create tensions because we're an aging population. The ones that are there are going to get older, but with around the world, it takes 1.4 to maintain
1.4 billion.
2.4 to maintain a population at the same level,
Yeah.
and we're at 1.4.
Okay, so
and what last holdout was Africa, and now Africa. It's so. It means what happens then? What happens? You create a disequilibrium, and with IA, all that technology. Give me the old company. We used to, when I was a kid, we pick up the phone and you heard number, please. And you said, a number for like 522. And they said, oh, Mrs. Jones isn't at home. She's at Mrs. Smith. Do you want me to ring there? But there was a human contact.
Yeah.
And
that's actually more smart than now.
Yeah.
That's very scary though. Like you would call someone else would answer like that.
We are reducing the jobs. We are going to replace people.
Oh, well, now with the
robots.
AI, yeah.
And I'm not, what is it, Luddite? In England, way back when they wanted to break up all the machines.
Mm.
But with IA, we're going to be, robots are going to replace people, which means maybe you'll have excess people, adults. If you have excess people, you have to get rid of them because who's going to feed them?
Exactly. They're going to be
so
wars.
There's a lot ahead of us. A lot of things we have to find solutions. But every generation has to find solutions.
True. Every generation has to have its own challenge. Hmm? Every generation has to have its own challenge in his own lifetime.
Every generation, it's got to.
This generation challenges so hard.
We all have to. We all have to in life have challenges. I think there's more suicides among the wealthy that have everything they need than even people in the concentration camps. Because every day you survive all the challenges you have, to think I never thought I'd get through it. And once you accomplish something you never thought you'd be able to do, you feel good.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can remember okay, that was a few years ago. Still,
Mhm.
I was the first time I had two daughters in Europe.
Yeah.
And we were in the Alps, and one was responsible with the Rib Alpin
Okay.
of keeping the maintaining the refuge,
The,
helping maintain
Okay.
Rib Alpin. Was responsible for that. And they had to go up this weekend, and Grandma was there, like I was there. And they said, "Oh, you know, I could do it." Yeah. I had running shoes. I didn't have climbing shoes. I had denim jacket, big white denim, long one, which when it was pouring rain down below, it it weighed a ton when it got wet.
Of course, yeah.
And I had, the couple weeks before, Côte de Neige was my limit.
Mm.
And I had to climb this mountain. So we're going, well, I kept looking, looking, but I always had a feeling I'll get there. That's the end. That was the horizon. Yeah, but when I got there, there was whoop and whoop all the way up. And so I caught well, my daughter carried my backsack, and she went on ahead. Anyway, her partner at the time, he stayed along behind with me, And at one time, he wouldn't let me pass. You have to zig and zag.
Yeah.
And after you zig and zag, I'd catch my breath. I'd stop for a while. At one time, he was blocking a picture. I said, "It's not wide enough for me to pass." So he advanced, and I saw why. They put pictures of the guy that falls into the rock.
Yeah.
And I looked down where he was. Anyway, it was a snowstorm when I got up in the glacier, up to the refuge. And I get there, it's dark, we were just following. I could think of all the movies, where you're lost and people lost in the mountain. Anyway, I got there hours after everybody else. And they said, my daughter's partner said, "Oh, I never should have asked her to do that. It was too much." I said, "No, that was the proudest day of my life."
That's nice.
One of the proudest days of my life. I said, couple weeks before, I'd huff and puff up Côte de Neige. And I said, here, I went all the way up the Routard.
Yeah.
And I went from a summer day down below. I was so proud. See, the thing is, when we go beyond, when we have challenges, it's challenges that getting over, finding solutions, making it that make life worthwhile. If there were no victories,
Yeah.
we'd have nothing to feel good about.
That's why we do need conflicts in life in order to continue. Yeah. All right. Well, goodbye, and thank you for watching, and see you next episode.